up being fast. Like I had a 5 to 6 thing, and it ended up not being that long. So, hey, hi. I don't know what happened. Well, I'm walking in for my board meeting now, but yes, I will call you after. Okay. All right, love you. No. It's totally fine, and I was gonna have to get off anyway. So. All good. Okay, love you. Bye. I read through your report. I'm excited to hear about it. I was sad to see. I mean, it's not y'all's doing, but like just that it's getting worse. It's just so bad out there in the world. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. So I guess Lise, is that her name?
Yeah.
She's not coming?
Her attendance record is a little tough.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't, technically.
We're not supposed to miss X however many.
Right, there are rules, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't, so I know that that's
yeah.
actual, like a thing,
Yeah.
but I don't know what we do about it. If we do any, like.
Should we just say, like, it's been noticed?
Yeah, I'll ask John. I'm actually gonna meet with John. I have a conversation. Our one-on-one. I'll ask John tomorrow.
Okay.
It's tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow's Friday.
Tomorrow's Friday. Yes, that's
This
right.
feels like such a lot. It's like that now we're being punished because there was ice and we couldn't get stuff done.
Correct.
So now everything is all on the same day, every day.
Like, yeah, every week is interminable.
Like the meetings,
yes.
the personal stuff. I'm like, okay.
Tell me about it. Theoretically, is everyone else coming? Do you think?
As far as I know.
Okay. Actually, we're gonna go to closed session, right?
We are.
Okay, I'll just keep everything in my bag.
Yeah, I think that's our
Yeah.
first thing. I
Yeah.
think we open and then go to closed.
Hey, Michael.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. You?
Yeah. Bridget and I were saying, like,
It's Thursday.
you know, it's like, okay, here we are in the winter, moving through.
I mean, it is warmer.
Yes, thank you.
Like, it's actually lovely. It was like 60 in Richmond a couple days this week. I'm like, what are we doing right now?
Yeah, that's delightful.
I just saw Earl and he said he was joining virtually.
Okay.
Seeing that.
I don't know how to handle closed session virtually. I could call him.
Yeah,
Or Maria could give you
like a Zoom.
create a Zoom link and give it to him. It's on my,
Yeah.
otherwise Maria's doing it. Depends how you guys want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, we could do Zoom. I could just call him.
It might be easier.
Yeah, that works.
It might be easier if we just call him.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, given the space where we were for the, what is her name? Lise?
Yes. Clavel,
Yeah.
like Madeline.
Yes. So, so I thought it was gonna be late because my daughter's swearing in for the Honor Society was right before this.
Uh-huh.
But she like wouldn't let me take a picture. So the only thing I have is a picture of the screen they projected.
That's
It
hilarious.
says National Honor Society.
Amazing.
And she was very displeased with me. They said dress business casual, and I made her. She's like, I look like I'm going to my corporate job. And like, then we get there, and of course, 90% of the children are in weird outfits
Athletic,
with like
yeah.
sneakers
Yeah.
or Birkenstocks.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, just
like,
kill me. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Incredible.
And then she's like, if you cheer or you draw attention to
Yeah.
yourself, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
It's like,
Okay.
my other children didn't really do that, but I guess it was pandemic when they were this age.
Yeah, so they didn't.
But and now they're just like
Okay.
fully embrace all my weirdness
Yeah,
and
yeah.
annoyingness and she doesn't mind most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just like certain situations. She's like, please stop. No talking.
My son's a junior and he's very much this.
Yeah.
See, I mean, I got really lucky. Like, Connor's never like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. Do we need to wait for Maria?
She's.
And we don't, do we have a
Check on
quorum?
her. She was,
I mean, we don't have to vote on, well, we do have to go to have a quorum to get a closed session.
We don't have-
Here she comes,
Hi.
tippy tappy, her fancy. That was the other thing, my boots were making too much noise as I was walking.
Inevitably, yes.
I'm
Yeah.
a lot of,
Nothing's more embarrassing than a mom with boots.
right.
You know?
I'm just
You fancy
full
fancy
on
boots.
all the things
Uh-huh,
today.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm sure Javier will be here. But he usually tells me he's not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And okay.
Sometimes it's on that TV, but
Yeah.
we also could start with the.
Well, do we have enough people to start? Like enough of us?
We don't have to have a quorum
Oh,
to
to
start.
start, okay.
Because we don't have to vote on anything.
Yeah, okay.
I just want to be mindful of Kathleen and Tarana's time.
Yeah.
It's after hours. I know you guys want to hang out with us all night, but. And it is 6:06. That's probably Javier right there. No? Okay, well, let's do it, friends.
Okay.
All right, I call this meeting of the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority to order. Can I get a roll call, please, Ms. Carey?
Sure. Commissioner Payne,
Here?
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Here.
Commissioner Rosenbluth.
Here.
All right.
Oh,
there's Javier. Okay.
So we should do a Zoom then, because we'll have two
Yeah.
potentially.
Let me just confirm. I see, Delphine, that you're on. Can we go into closed session if we don't have a quorum in person?
Well, I think because the one resident commissioner position's vacant, I think 3 of us is a quorum.
Oh.
Just because that's a vacancy, but I could be wrong.
That's correct. So how many commissioners do you currently have who have been sworn in and are currently serving their term?
6?
Okay, so you do have a quorum physically assembled and you can vote to go into closed session.
Okay. Yeah, how are we gonna, does anybody have a computer? I can do
I
it
do,
on
I
my
have a
phone.
computer.
Okay. Is there another Zoom that we can use for closed session?
Do we need to have it on CRHA Zoom? Or I could just create one?
It can be any Zoom link.
Yeah.
Okay, Javier, can we send you a Zoom for the closed session?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I agree.
So let me, let's see, let me do the moment of silence, please. Okay, so we are going to move to a brief closed session. So upon the motion, well, we'll get there. Be it resolved that the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority will convene in a closed meeting pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, as amended, the act, to discuss the following matters which are specifically exempted from public disclosure by the code section referred to below. Personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, demotion, performance, salaries, or resignation of employees of the authority as authorized by section 2.2-3711A1 of the Act. May I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes?
All opposed?
Yes.
Okay, so we will move to closed session and we will be back as soon as possible. Are we supposed to go to that same weird place that we can only get to with my phone?
I didn't know what time. I knew you would be here.
I was waiting, I was gonna try to get the phone about it, but then, I came up to the meeting and he said he was gonna join virtually.
That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, There, what's it say? Oh.
right. Whereas the authority has convened a closed meeting on the state pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712D of the 1950 Code of Virginia as amended requires a certification by this authority that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore, upon motion duly made and seconded, be it resolved that the authority hereby certifies to that the best of each commissioner's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the authority. May I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Kathleen and Tarana, are you guys ready to give us the eviction diversion update?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm liking that we got more
Our
gold
gold.
paper clips.
Yeah, I see you, Maureen.
They bring
I
such
love that.
joy to the meeting.
Well, I wanted to start off by just giving a plug to someone that few people ever see. She's our grants and development coordinator, Katrina Bites, and she has really works behind the scenes, but she helped us put together this report, and we were really grateful for her assistance. We're trying to give a lot of our reports a facelift, and she's been really helpful with that process. So back in 2025, Mr. Sales asked the Resident Service Department and our property management team to come together and work on creating an eviction diversion program. We set up process, and we've been to quite a few meetings, about, I'd say once a quarter, to update everyone on that, and this is part of that. We're giving more of an overview of where the program's at tonight. A big part of this whole program is making sure that we, the property management team identifies residents who are having housing instability and are referring them most often to resident services. We're looking at, what our actions look like when we're following up to these referrals, and really trying to do a better job of tracking information. The collaboration is a big part of this, and I'll talk a little bit more on that in a moment, but I wanted to go ahead and turn things over to Ms. Banks, who can really dig into some of the numbers here.
Good evening to the board. So we put this together. It's pretty self-explanatory, but how we've broken it down is risk across all sites. We kind of broke out the non-public market rate portfolio. Typically, the people that really participate in EDP, for the most part, are our public housing, Lights Tech, PBVB, that portfolio. Now, while other people do get some assistance, these are the main people. So Mr. Sales asked us to break it down by the dollar band and have how many households in each dollar band. So under amount owed, you're going to see it by band. But we had the total. Okay. Yeah, so 215 families currently at risk eviction, and that just means they're not at the end of the cycle. They have been identified, and they have either outstanding rent or other outstanding issues, non-compliance, whether that's remediable or non-remediable. So you will see those numbers there. We wanted to kind of break it down to really give a more micro perspective of what we are working with each and every day. If you could scroll down just a little bit for me.
What are the-
Thank you.
I'm
Go
sorry.
back to filings. Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, Ms. Banks. The
You're good.
non-rent, what types of things fall in the non-rent?
Okay, so non-rent can be, it can be a non-compliance for, say, failed housekeeping. It can be a non-compliance for, conduct and behavior, repeated conduct and behavior. It can be.
So it's like fines,
a
like fees and
landmark
fines?
I'm sorry?
Is it like fees and fines for those things?
No, non-rent is something, rent is if there's delinquent rent. Non-rent is other non-compliance issues like a violation of the lease.
Okay, I got it.
Different violations of the lease, if that makes sense.
Sorry, Ms. Banks, and so there's no like financial component to those at all for the residents?
No, the financial is the rent.
Just the rent, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Mid,
Uh-huh.
just for like context, like I do like the amount owed in households, like scale of rent, like from the high. I know it depends on your income, but like that to contextualize also the number of households and then the amount owed. Like, could you give just like a ballpark figure? Just like, you know, this could be from like a monthly rent of this amount to this amount.
I don't think I understand the question. I'm sorry.
Like, you have amount owed, but like you could owe X amount of months to get to like 1,500. Essentially,
Oh, right. Got you. Okay.
more or less like from what's the scale by which people are paying monthly that they would accumulate, you know, rent due owed and be either part of that, you know, 76,000 there or that 29,000.
Okay, I think what you're asking is how many months does this cover? Like, what is the span of what they owe?
Yeah, that would
Okay.
kind of get at it too.
Okay, so we have, it really depends, on how long the courts take. Like, for instance, we have some people, and I think I've said this at previous board meetings, we have some people that owe money, who we've had, and I want to say quote unquote, the court process, but we've either delayed it, continued it, or not suited it, and then had to come back and refile. I think it's important to kind of throw in there too that a lot of these people that have actually received agency assistance, once that balance is paid, they come right back and start accruing. I.e. what Kathleen is going to talk about later with the budgeting and finance. Also, it depends on courts. It depends on partner involvement. Like, are we trying to work it out with legal aid? Do they have partners that are trying to help them? So it's kind of hard to focus in more on it because there are so many different variables. Does that answer the question?
John has his hand up.
Yes, Mr. Sales.
Thank you. I'm just going to provide a little bit more context, hopefully. So it's very hard to give an answer on the average. I'll say we know our average rent charge is around $240 a month. We do not move forward with eviction actions on any tenant unless it's at least 60 days old. So we haven't collected rent in at least 60 days. We move folks into the eviction diversion program after not collecting rent the first month. So when rent is missed on the 5th, that referral should happen. And so folks are getting into the program faster and earlier, which is important because these earlier touch points and interventions are important and what can save families. Because when large balances do build up, which we do have families in some of our units that pay $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month in rent. And so missing a couple months could be really detrimental to getting financial assistance to help that family, because a lot of organizations have monthly caps and annual caps and then lifetime caps. And so early intervention is really important. And so it's hard to say the average of the families in here, but you will have families in here that may only owe $35 because that's our minimum rent. But that $35 is important. We need to have that touch point with that family to make sure that we are providing whatever services they may need. And maybe it's filing for a hardship exemption, but it's figuring out what that is and bringing them in and having a touch point conversation.
Thanks, Ms. Banks and Mr. Sales. That's exactly, very informative.
Okay. Okay, can you move down just a little bit, Kathleen, to the filings? Okay. So we wanted to just provide a little context, and these filings actually should be April 25. Sorry, I missed that in looking at the edits. So you'll see the number of filings for rent, the number of filings for non-rent, which could be like maintenance, damages, etc., and then the rent and non-rent. The total was 30 there for our subsidized portfolio, affordable, and then you can see the numbers for the non-public market rate portfolio. Of those total, 16 evictions were diverted through funds that were either obtained by working with our asset collections manager, reaching out for funds, as well as resident services, working with families to obtain funds. And like I said earlier, a lot of the families that we are seeing, once the balance has been paid, they come right back in. And so we are, in our monthly meetings, we are talking about like, what does follow-up look like? And we are following up. It's just, the reality is, once a lot of people get that rent paid off, they kind of check out until it's time to check in the next time, if that makes sense. So we're trying to follow up. We're trying to evolve our response to kind of meet that need. Unfortunately, it's easier to get people to take money than to kind of dig in and get to the root of the problem, but we are trying to work on creative ways to do that. So any other questions on that part before I move on?
Yes, sorry. One quick question. Just of those 16, do you have that broken between the two portfolios?
Yes, so the, believe the numbers were 50, hold on just a second, I have another document I can. 15 were affordable and one was non-public market rate.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And one quick second, Tarana. In the, you scroll back up, and I will say that one non-market actually became a public housing.
Correct.
Because there was a subsidy issue. Like, that person was severely rent burdened. They were paying way more than they could actually afford. And once they actually got in the subsidized program, their rent was cut in, I think it was less than half of what they were actually being charged when they were on the non-public market rate portfolio. They were living in a unit before we bought it, but they were severely rent burdened. And I just also want to point out, the eviction diverted is really, really big and important. Yes, these filing numbers are big, and we need to get them a lot lower. These filings are really costly. The money you see owed, 9 times out of 10, we will never collect it. And so we've lost essentially $100,000 there. And then we've had to spend probably another $25,000 to $50,000 between turning units and legal fees. And so it's really a lost situation. We have families that could not afford to live anywhere else. And we've also have debt that we're never going to receive anyway. But we really had no other interventions after trying and going through this program.
Thank you, Mr. Sales.
And I do just want to clarify that it's not typical that we take somebody from a non-public market rate. It just so happened that the stars aligned and this person's name came up on the list for a unit right when they needed it. And so we were able to work with agencies and get the balance paid off, and they were able to move into a subsidized unit. So I just want to clarify that. Can you move down, please, Kathleen? Thank you. So eviction, EDP participation, all sites, 106 families are currently enrolled in EDP. 98% of those families were deferred for non-payment of rent, or referred, sorry, not deferred, it's been a long day. Referred for non-payment of rent. And so the other 2% obviously would be for other issues, non-rent issues. 88 participants have exited the program since August. Those who have exited were in EDP for an average of 76 days. 18 new participants per month on average, and then 82% carried over from the previous month. And those again are just the people that pay rent late every single month who are referred standard, and we call them carryovers. And although we are trying to work with them, everyone doesn't accept the help. So we're still working on trying to evolve that. And then we have broken down, I don't need to read everything verbatim, but we've broken down the month, and then the numbers in EDP. And every month when we meet, we are pushing our teams to be diligent and be vigilant. If you identify anything, not just money, but any needs that a family may have or come to you and speak about, let's get them in the eviction diversion program. Let's find resources. And sometimes it's not a reactive, it's a proactive, right? We want to just try to recognize any issues that may become a future barrier. So from August to January, referrals increased by 55%.
Ms. Banks, we've got a couple questions.
Okay.
Go ahead. So I just wanted to ask, so when we say that they exit the program, so how are we distinguishing, so does that mean they cured and they completed the program, but we don't count them as a diverted eviction? I just want to make sure I'm thinking about the numbers the right way. So can you graduate and never get that close, and we have to actually get to the eviction proceedings for us to say the eviction was diverted? Is that
sometimes some people graduate, and I saw you, Mr. Sales. You can piggyback on me. Just real quick, some people graduate and they get out of the program, and then they move forward and do what they need to do. You also have people who we've tried for a few months to resident services. Kathleen's team have reached out. PM has reached out multiple times, and they've either refused to help or they're just non-responsive. So that could be a reason for exiting them. It doesn't mean they won't come back in. It just means we've been trying, and So did you want to say something, Mr. Sales?
So sorry, just one thing, just to clarify on that. So they exit the program. That doesn't mean that they diverted, that their eviction was diverted. It just means they stopped participating.
Correct, for one reason or another, yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
It could be success. We'll try to break it down a little bit more next time.
Yeah.
We were just trying to get the information out, but
No, I'm really
that's a
glad to
great
see
question.
this. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it, and I think we'll continue, we'll
Yeah.
probably continue to ask you too many questions, and
No, you're
we'll all
fine.
get there, but I think, you know, especially when I see the increase in referrals and like, this is just something that we're all gonna continue to like deal with, certainly
Right.
the current economy, like I'd be shocked if it wasn't getting worse. That's a terrible thing, but, you know, so we're just trying to make sure we fully understand what you're telling us. So, sorry about that.
So then, and then are the 16 who were diverted, they're not the 106 that's currently, like that means that you've served other people, you know, that they were, like they would be 122 totally, is that correct? For the six, I'm like, how does the 106
Can you
and
go back up a little bit?
and the 30, is that just the ones that were, like I'm confused by that. So were the 30, were they not part of the EDP? I'm confused by that.
What 30?
So, oh, sorry, I was looking at the 42 filings.
Filing is actually filing in court. It's-
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so the evictions diverted are the ones that have been, those were actually filed cases.
Right.
Got it,
They were
okay.
filed in court. We came together as a team to try to figure out how do we, like, 5-alarm fire, how do we intervene in this pending eviction to save this family?
Gotcha, okay.
And so that's what those 16 evictions diverted, because there were actually filings in the court for those 16 families.
And then theoretically, then the 106 number is the ones that we are currently attempting to divert.
Correct. They're currently in the program. We have not done a filing on them. We're trying to keep a
Right.
filing from happening on them. That's why we're intervening at the first month, like
Right,
day
right, right.
number 6.
Okay.
Because we can't file at day number 6.
Right, yes.
But we want to intervene at day number 6 to have as many intervention opportunities as possible before we get to the point where we have to file.
Okay, that's really helpful, thank you. My other question was, you know, you said some folks are denying like any attempts to receive help or are non-responsive, and do you have insight as to why that may be the case?
I just think it's life. You know, some people don't want help. Some people don't want people in their business. Some people never answer the door, never respond to a notice. We've done phone calls. We've knocked on doors. We have Kathleen's team. She can speak more to this. They are reaching out. Every month when we meet, there's always a handful of people or more that just simply will not participate and will not respond. And I just think that's people in general. Everyone is not going to respond. Everyone is not going to want to participate. So that's also something that we talk about constantly and try to, see how we can get around that. Go ahead, Mr. Sales.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. So, like, these are families who, in a lot of cases, haven't paid rent in months, and so there's a little bit of anxiety there.
Yes.
That the response from CRJ is going to be, we're going to evict you. We're not here to help you. Mm-hmm. And so it's trying to change that norm, and residents may have the right to feel that way because that is traditionally the case, and that may have been the case in the past. Mm-hmm. But this program was created to be the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. And so it will probably take some time.
Yeah.
Those 16 diversions happen after months of trying to intervene, before we ever got to a filing. Like the scenario with the family switching, like there were multiple interventions at several different points. And yes, sometimes it takes over a year to process an eviction because of those several interventions. Because sometimes we'll say, hey, we'll give you a chance, but you need to get to this point. or hey, you make this payment and we'll make this payment. So last year, I think we got $16,000, and so we created a program where we incentivize payments. If a resident came to a table and made a portion of a payment, then we matched it.
Right. Okay.
And
So yeah.
It's going to be things that we're going to have to continue trying, and the interventions don't stop
Right.
because we filed. Like, if residents are coming to the table, we are at the table ready to do a repayment agreement, ready to call every agency that has funding available or that we may think have a funding available and work with them. And now we have a new part of this program that Kathleen is going to highlight later on, that's going to also help. And so the interventions don't stop once a filing happens, but we are now filing now, which we did not do in the past. And that's getting community members word. And so
Right.
we have to make sure folks know about this program, that we're educating folks about this program and all the interventions that we have already in the process. And now we're creating these additional interventions all the way up until the actual writ is filed and the sheriff is coming to the unit. We have the ability and we have worked with families.
Okay, that's great to hear. I feel like that, maybe I just misunderstood what you had said maybe a couple months ago. Sorry, I apologize for taking so much time. It just feels like this is really important. And I'm new and I'm trying to get my head around everything. But I guess I had understood previously that if something had been filed in court, that it was kind of hard to stop that ball rolling once it got rolling, like once those funds had been allocated toward eviction proceedings. And so I'm very heartened to hear that is not entirely the case, and that there's more actions happening and more touches happening to try to come to the table with, residents who probably don't have anywhere else where they can live.
That is almost absolutely never the case.
Okay.
And I think Delphine, as our attorney, can tell you that is the process because of how long we have some of these cases.
Gotcha.
I mean, she's probably still billing us for cases at the beginning of the year of last year.
Right.
Because we work with families for so long.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and to the extent the board needs reassurance, and we could certainly schedule a separate meeting to go back over the process, which I think we've done in the past. But John is absolutely correct. It takes a long time because first and foremost, the staff and John make efforts to work with the family to see if there are alternatives. We go through payment plans, we go through repayment agreements, we work with the families to see if there are obstacles in their lives and things that we could help with to prevent an eviction. So it takes many, many months before we actually get to the point of an unlawful detainer. It's a really lengthy process. And I have to say that the Housing Authority really does a great job of working with residents and trying to find ways to prevent eviction from happening. But what the board needs to keep in mind as well is that some families simply don't want to work with us at all. And so at some point, it becomes also an issue of fairness as to making sure we enforce the lease and we give everybody the same opportunity to comply with the rules and to work with us. If a household simply has no interest in working with staff or answering the correspondence or meeting with us, then eventually it's just not fair to those who are paying their rent if we let other families not pay their rent or otherwise violate their lease. And then you have the issue of families who are not in compliance because they have criminal activity. And of course, we have to take action.
Yes. That feels
We have to protect the interests of the community as a whole and the safety of other residents as well. So please keep that in mind, but know that there is a process, and it's actually a pretty lengthy process from the moment of a violation of the lease and the actual moment of termination of the lease and eviction many months go by with multiple opportunities for the family to meet with the staff and work on the situation to remedy it and keep the lease intact, so to speak.
Great. Thank you all for your thoughtful responses and for this.
Okay. Is this me too, Kathleen?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so. Or is
Yep.
it, yeah,
huh?
this is the last one for you.
Okay. So let's see. So we continue to collect data. Obviously, we will continually be refining this internally at our meetings, at our team meetings, as we go through strategies to improve. We take what we've learned and kind of pivot as we improve the program. And so I won't read you all the numbers. The early result, the only thing I do want to say is this 8,500 plus, that number is higher than that. Actually last year, considering the economy and everything, agencies were a tremendous help to our non-rent EDP participants. We had one family in particular, I think that over the last year, or maybe 12 or 13 months, came up with 8,000 in one account and then maybe 10,000 or 11,000 the second time. So agencies really came through for our residents last year. I know this year will be tighter due to the change in government. So again, we are continuing to work through and see what that looks like, since there will not be as much money available for just the non-rent issues by themselves. So it looks like they threw in a median amount of back rent owed across the sites of $732. Looking at the patterns of missed payments, late payments, and debt accrual, as stated, there's a clear need for budgeting and financial education. And as we've all talked about tonight, it's not the easiest thing once the debt is paid to get people to buy into helping themselves, really, just to understand budget and finance. And so that's something we're still working on. Immediate efforts to provide more information and technical assistance, and auto payment. I know, and Mr. Sales may be able to speak to this, our finance department has been working a lot on that, trying to get it set up for the sites that don't have it, because some people do want to use those automatic payments. And then we also have people who are just, they like to go get their money orders and bring them in. So we like to have that, some diverse forms of payment. Chronic non-payment, having earlier intervention. And so we have every move-in in 2026 is required between my team and Kathleen's team almost every single time to be a warm handoff and introduction to the family, so that they can speak to either any issues that they may have, maybe something that we recognized on a landlord reference that we didn't necessarily deny them for, but we want to kind of get ahead of it. Maybe it was, some housekeeping issues, maybe it was some issues with the children. I'm just throwing those things out there. So we kind of want to get ahead of that. And so warm handoffs for new move-ins, so that we are meeting the family. Kathleen's team is having a chance just to have an initial conversation and kind of catch anything that could be an issue early. And then if it's a non-issue, just to build that rapport and relationship. Outreach, I think Kathleen's team is also working on some more like brochures and things that we can have, just to make sure that everybody knows that these services and these programs are available to them through CRHA. And we continue to, look at how do we educate people on lease? How do we get people to show up so that we can educate them? and just to break things down for them so that it's truly understandable for them. And that's all I have. Are there any questions on that? Went through it kind of quick.
I just want to say thank you very much. We've been, we're very glad to see this, and I know it's just like some pages, but I want to acknowledge like how much work and how, persistent you guys have had to be to keep pushing on this and trying to help people. And it's tricky. So I just want to say thank you.
I'd like to echo
You're
that.
welcome.
Thank
We
you so
appreciate
much.
that.
Mr. Sales?
Hey, can you scroll up a little bit, please? So I just wanted to point out that the information in the top of the chart is only for West Haven. So that information is just a little snapshot of what West Haven looks like and what West Haven has dealt with for the eviction diversion piece. In the future, we will be able to break down all of the sites and be able to give snapshots. There are some that are too small, but we can't because we'll be giving out confidential information. But for the other sites, the larger sites, we can give this level of detailed information on what the site looks like. And so as you see, $38 is the lowest, $35 is our minimum rent, and there's a $3 late fee. And so that's why it's $38 is the lowest. So 10% is the late fee. And so that's what we'll have, and in the future we'll be able to do that quarterly, maybe highlighting certain sites that we're seeing a lot of activity in. And I just want to point out the deeper analysis. The touch points with resident services and property management is really important. We have a lot of programs that are really beneficial to residents financially. So there's an FSS program where residents can come in and their income is locked in and rent is locked in, and as their income increases, the rent does not increase. Well, it does, but it gets escrowed, and so they get their money back at the end of the program. At West Haven, you have the Jobs Plus program, so you have Earned Income Disregard. And so these are really good financial benefiting programs for residents, and we need to make sure residents know about them and they're enrolling in them, because for, let's say, I think we probably have in public housing eligible units for FSS, there's probably about 100, but we don't have 50 residents in the program in public housing. And so I think 50 is an easy number, because when you think about it, who doesn't want to get all the money back that they paid in rent that's above what they're paying right now over the next 5 years? I think people would love to have that benefit. And so we need to make sure folks know about it, they're getting signed up, and the folks who are currently in housing that have issues where they can't get in these programs, that we're working with them to get those issues addressed so then they can get in the program. It's not benefiting any of us having these programs and not having residents in them. And so these early touch points with both management, property management, and resident services is going to be really important and key for being able to see this self-sufficiency grow. Because we've already started looking at the budget numbers. HUD is cutting what we're receiving pretty large this year. It's even larger than what they cut us last year. And so it's going to be important that we're collecting every dollar and that we are working with our residents, because we have a large number of families that are paying $35. And if you're in the Jobs Plus program, yes, you may still end up paying just $35, but the federal government is going to kick in and pay the rest while you're in the program. And so CRJ gets to financially benefit, residents get to financially benefit. It's a win-win, and so we need to make sure residents are actually signing up. And so I just wanted to highlight the deeper analysis and those additional touch points.
Thanks so much, Mr. Sales. I have just a follow-up question, I guess, which is in terms of kind of being strategic about how to make sure that residents are learning about these opportunities. You know, you all are much better at that and have much more experience on that end. I'm wondering if you're including the tenant board or FAR interns, or like what does like the outreach look like in order to try to kind of amp up the strategic, you know, growing of these programs that are available and are being underutilized.
Kathleen, can you talk about what conversations and opportunities we've engaged with FAR on the eviction diversion? Because we do see FAR as being a key partner
Yeah.
in the eviction diversion. Like, just as much as there are residents, there are just as much FAR residents. There are FAR participants. We are paying FAR to engage with them. And so we need to use FAR as a partner. And so we want FAR to be a partner in this. Like, this goes along with educating and advocating. And so I'll let Kathleen go a little bit further about our conversations, but we agree that FAR needs to be a partner in this, and we want them to be a partner in this.
Thank you.
Yes, and I also, you know, see this as an area of continuous improvement that we need to work on. We have, you know, when we talk about grant programs, sometimes we encounter distrust among individuals that believe they've seen things come and go, and if they don't want to do it, it's just going to go away. And the programs, you know, we didn't have a resident services department until about 4 years ago. So some of these programs weren't here.
Yeah.
And it's been a really long time since something like Ross or FSS was hosted by this housing authority. So we are having to, you know, build trust with our community that this is a long-lasting program they can benefit from, and, you know, worth coming and sitting down with us to hear about. We had a really great experience with the annual plan process this year where we talked about some of the grants, but we're going to be looking at more opportunities. We're really looking at more of a multifaceted approach for 2026, because, you know, we want to look at the lessons learned, what's not working. We know just sticking flyers out is not going to do it. We know door knocking isn't going to do it. It's finding, you know, folks who have magic skills in getting people to show up, and, you know, really focusing on getting them to be part of the process. And sometimes it's phone calls, sometimes it's text, sometimes it's social media, but we've got to use all of those things. We can't just focus on a few things. We've been doing a lot of pivoting this year as we try different things, and I try to ask my whole team to be willing to say, this is not working. We've got to try something different. We're looking at different trainings. We've got some 2 staff that have been doing mediation training, 2 staff that did participatory budgeting training. We have 1 staff and some others, the whole team soon to follow, that's doing training through for Senior Planet with working with elderly. But we also see some of those trainings could be really helpful with families. One of the big things that we started in the end of 2025 and have really rolled out at the beginning of this year is roundtables, and that is where you have the core staff or community members that are trying to assist an individual in crisis come together with permission from that individual. Often it might be like our Ross coordinator, a property manager, and the resident themselves, and maybe a resident service coordinator. Sometimes we've had some scenarios where maybe they bring in someone from, you know, a counselor from Region 10 or another agency. But everyone comes together to, you know, support the resident and make sure everyone's on the same page, everyone understands what's going on. And often at these meetings, we're also finding out like a big ball that was in the air that no one knew about, and that's able to make us realize, you know, what that missing piece was that we weren't addressing. Unfortunately, many times it's addiction, which is really hard, but it's, you know, it's kind of almost a gift if you can actually make it to the table so we can talk about it. It's rare. But domestic abuse is huge on that list. Very hard to talk about. You really have to have staff. Our property management team puts a lot of time into this as well on, building that trust so that, the resident will actually confide in them what's going on in the household. Lease education is something we've been looking at from many different perspectives, and I think what we're going to do is just try to tackle it a lot of different ways and see what works. We've got some PowerPoints we're about to roll out. We're going to see how visual presentations go, conversations. I maybe see if legal aid and other groups could do some. Our staff doesn't even have to be there while they do it. It's just figuring out what works for different individuals. We're also looking at mental health supports. We've developed a really great relationship through Region 10. I want to credit the late board member, Alice Washington. She worked tirelessly to talk to UVA and Region 10 about, really showing up. And the Blue Ridge Center opened, and we have Marie Poole, someone with lived experience, who's coming into our communities and working with all of our staff to meet with people around some of the challenges they're facing. She's a clinical social worker. We also, we have not made a lot of movement yet on substance abuse use and addiction resources, but we're constantly talking about it. Prolific boxes, the sexy boxes, those are such a great resource to have. We see so many people going to those. And for financial literacy and budgeting, I talked to city staff about this some too. This is definitely one size does not fit all. We need to have classes that are really basic about money coming in and out. And then we've got folks that want to talk about home ownership. So it's a really wide range, and we just need to do a better job of figuring out individuals' learning styles and the best way for us to approach them with this information. We have so many folks that are working like several jobs and are just getting more behind every month. And so building that trust so we can actually get to a point to have some hard conversations. Where is that money going? What's happening? Is somebody in your life using that money? Is it just that your teenager really wanted a phone? What happened? And it's hard. It's hard to talk about that, and it can be very embarrassing. It's a vulnerable place to be in. Funds for rental assistance are just drying up everywhere, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. Just basic needs. For a while there, during COVID, it was so easy to find people's stuff. But that's really dried up. We've had to get really creative. We're trying to, every month, pick a church we never talked to before and reach out. And even if it's toilet paper, just something that we can get to have on hand.
Is there could you advertise to local groups? Is there a place that people could drop off food or goods or something? Is there a standing location where people could make donations? Is that something that you all could accept? I don't know if even legally that's something that you could accept.
Well, we have a little bit of that right now. Sometimes we're really careful because we have, sometimes our community is the most generous.
Yeah.
But we also sometimes get donations that, we have to be careful that they're in a condition that's best for the family.
Right.
And we also, are looking at space. We've got a real space challenge at the moment. The summer is going to be so exciting when, South First Street comes online. And, but right now space is a real challenge. But we are still very focused on food insecurity, and Mr. Sales had done some research and looked at a program in Flint, Michigan, where the housing authority there, or housing commission, partnered with the food bank. And we were really excited about this program because they set it up so residents could work in the food bank and work off up to $300 of their debt. And we started digging into this. I met with our local food bank and realized that they're, you know, the size of Flint, Michigan, the size of Charlottesville, very different.
Very different.
And they just don't have the capacity. We learned so much though, because we learned that, you know, loaves and fishes where a large portion of our community goes on a regular basis. Our food bank isn't even big enough to supply them. They're getting it from one of their affiliates. So, but we did find out what we need to do to become a partner and be able to access resources to get shelving and actually, you know, set up cold storage and get the thing we really want is a vehicle, and that is that we need our 501c3 because we cannot be a partner without having that. But one of the partners that the food bank has is the Stanton Housing Authority, who does have a 501c3. And through that, they have set up a food pantry that we're going to go visit April 1st and just look at the size of it. I'm already reaching out to them to get better ideas about space requirements. Their model isn't exactly what we want to do. They just have a really big open house once a month. We're looking at something that can actually deliver to sites and have more of an emergency feel. But you know, in partnership with Redevelopment, we're going to be really looking at some of the spaces that we might have coming online, initially at South First Street Phase 2. But this is really exciting for us because it's an opportunity for individuals to work on paying off some of their debt. Mr. Sales, did you want to talk on that?
Yes, and I also wanted to give an update on the nonprofit.
Yeah, that's great.
That should be going to the city council maybe on Tuesday, if not on Tuesday, the Monday, the first, I think is March 2nd, so the first meeting in March. But it is in the purview, and they're working on it. It is on their agenda to be approved by the end of our fiscal year.
Do we need to show up to that city council meeting? Because obviously, if we do, then we gotta make sure that some of us are available.
No, I think we should be good.
Okay.
We were able to make a pretty good argument about the how other housing authorities, this is the norm. Delphine gave us some really good material
Awesome.
that the city council, the city has not pushed back on. I haven't heard it had any questions from them about it. And so I think we're all good.
Great.
We'll be prepared for that. And so I do think we're in a really good position to get that going so we can move forward with this expansion. Because one thing that we know is that there's very limited rental assistance funds. A lot of the programs have guidelines to receive assistance. No, go back up, Kathleen. Kathleen, go back up.
I'll back up. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I wanted to go the other way.
There are very limited number. I just want to see where the expansion pilot is. There are very limited number of resources, and there are requirements, and there are a lot of lifetime restrictions, annual restrictions, and so we have to look at other options to address our issues with eviction diversion opportunities. And so the cost of eviction is really high. And so the answer is not mass evictions. Number one, we could not afford it, and you would just have a bunch of vacant units because there's no way we could afford to turn every one of those vacant units. No way we could turn 100 units. And so we need to look at other options. And so the expansion pilot is an option to get folks in who have $500 or less of old rent, or maybe they owe a little bit more than $500, and we are working with them on other interventions. Like maybe we have we're talking to the Haven about some of their rental assistance funds, or we are working with Pathways, and Pathways have committed to a certain amount. But we need to get to a zero to keep them from being evicted, because they've gotten to the point where we've already filed on them. And so now to really intervene, we actually need to have money at the table, or if we've gotten to the process, unfortunately, where we've been awarded the unit, then you have to actually have it down to a $0 balance. And so now we're looking at, hey, how do we intervene when there's very limited resources in the community, and this family really has no other options. And so we're looking at this pilot program where individuals can work at the food bank or another nonprofit. And so we're going to be looking at other nonprofits to see what other opportunities are out there in the community, where nonprofits and agencies are going to be able to get really free labor and resources, and good resources and labor from our community, while the resident also is getting job skills, some additional knowledge. They're building social skills as well, and they're also paying down their balance without having to come up with the money themselves. And so CRHA at that point, we will zero out up to $500 per the families. And so we're valuing it at $15 per hour, which is what City Council, I think, passed as a livable wage. And so I think Flint did it $10 an hour, but we're doing it at $15. And I think their max was $300, and so we've increased our max to $500 as part of that initial expansion. And then we'll see how this works. But right now we are trying as many things as we can to help, and so we're constantly researching to see what other agencies are doing across the country to see if it works here. We can't stop trying. We have 108 families that need us to keep trying.
Thank you.
And then the last part we had here was just around assistance. We are really struggling now to find, assistance for families who do owe rent. There's lifetime limits. There's, a lot of our local churches have also, said we've seen you before. We need to focus on another family, and they're just getting so many requests. They're overburdened as well. We hear over and over again that they're going to go back to their congregation and have to have bigger conversations because what they thought was enough for the year was gone, in months. We are looking at, the number that we looked at once we put things together was 2,704, that, going towards rental assistance for arrears, educational opportunities. We're really just looking at different ways to support people. We have individuals that want to do some technical training, and sometimes, we have funding for it. Sometimes we're able to partner with economic opportunity with the city and cover it, but other times it's not covered. And so whenever possible, we have them, do financial aid, but we just recently did some cooking classes, and you had to have a school-aged child living in your home to qualify for the funding that was available at the moment. And we had to, pull from some grant funding to cover some of the other interested folks. But we know we could do that class many times and have a lot more people show up, but there is not funding for it. Financial literacy and education, we are really wanting to get creative here. We want to have, if people are going to come and we're going to do, we've even looked at some fun boot camps other areas are doing, where if you come to all the trainings, you get $500 at the end, but you have to show up at every single one, which is a big incentive, to come to all of these. But we're looking for funds for things like that, funds to bring in trainers. We've got people in our community with lived experience that do amazing trainings, but we need to be able to compensate them to come. Especially as we've got a lot of people that experienced incarceration or other members of their family did, and bringing in trainers that also have this lived experience is a lot more meaningful often than having our staff do the training. barrier navigation. So something that, I was saying it hit me in the face lately, but it's just so many people we're working with right now owe money for, with the DMV that's causing them not to get their license back. Their license has been suspended. Insurance costs, just getting a car. Over and over again, we're finding folks with, multiple points, and, we want to be able to start some cohorts around helping people have a valid driver's license. It is a game changer to actually be able to do that and have a vehicle. We have a lot of people driving vehicles that don't have driver's license, and the cars are not registered, and they're in danger every day. We really worry, some of our families that are English learners fall into that, and that's not a good, they're risking a lot with that. We're finding our self-sufficiency program, which Mr. Sales was just talking about. Since our program is new and hasn't been here for decades, like most housing authorities, we don't have a pool of money that's been collected over the years from individuals who might have defaulted that could go to help other residents. We're starting from scratch with that program, and every week we have someone that has a need. It might be, something as simple as getting a school transcript that's $20, but we really just want to have a little bit of funding available to help with that. And all of our programs, we want to make it more approachable. If you come to a class, we want you to walk away with something. It doesn't have to be a gift card. It might be a gift bag. Our youth coordinator has been doing some really fun stuff where he's looking at, on a Saturday, once he starts his youth council, that they won't just get a box lunch. Inside the box lunch are going to be some gifts. It might be household stuff. He's going to mix it up, but something just to show, that we care. And we want to be able to do more of that at our trainings. And but just at the core of all this, just having some funding to help, incentivize people coming in to talk to us so we can help them when they're behind on rent. Because, the two biggest things are, number one, people not showing up to talk to us, even though we've tried many ways to reach out to them. And number two, they do come and they've maxed out everywhere. And they've been coming to us on a regular basis. We know them well, and maybe they're finally at that point where they're ready, but they've maxed out all their resources. And we do know, it often takes several times to get someone there, and there's just so many things going on in people's lives we don't know about. But these are kind of the numbers we were looking at. And Mr. Sales, did you want to say anything about this?
Yeah, I would say, so in the past, and one reason why we developed the eviction diversion program, when I got to the Housing Authority has historically had an issue with not collecting rent. And so the pandemic only made it worse. Like, you had families who traditionally paid rent, but because there was like this moratorium on evictions, and then we had like organizations and foundations paying rent, like just out the goodness, just saying, hey, we're gonna pay rent for families for 2 months. You had that happen, and so then it became a snowball effect. And so families who traditionally always paid their rent, who had lived in public housing for 15 years, then became a family who was at risk because they slipped and they could not catch up. And so in the past, we've asked the city to wipe out balances, and then we've gotten back to that same dollar amount or more the next year. And so last year we said, hey, we can't do that. Like, that is not fixing the issue. At some point, we have to fix what's going on. And the only way we do that is by, hey, we have to get super, super, super involved. We need to be boots on the ground, and we have to have these interventions where everyone's coming to the table and we're figuring out what's going on. We've been doing that. I think we have the numbers to show that we've been doing that. I think we also now we can show that we have families that have come to the table that we can't find assistance for because they've met that lifetime cap, or they've met that annual cap, or maybe they're not affiliated with an organization or a certain church, and so a church will not provide for that or that family. And so we need to get assistance if we want to keep families in the program, because there are a large number of families that have relatively large balances. There are families that, as you have seen throughout the year, that we've taken off because we've actually moved forward with evictions, because I think there was a family at South First Street that had $24,000 worth of just the South First Street balance, which I think was more than half for South First Street. And so there wasn't any options in it. And so we had to move forward with something else. But we do have families that are engaging with us that have no other means to pay. And so we are looking at creating a program where it's similar to the match program that we did in the past, where we put families on payment plans, and as they make payments, we are then making a payment on behalf of them from this balance. The problem is CRHA cannot afford to eat the old balance. It's just financially impossible. And we can't zero it out like it wasn't there, because then we're doing a disservice for all the families that actually paid rent. And so we need to come up with the mechanism. We think, based upon what we've done in the past, with this $16,000 pilot program that was funded by, I believe, CDBG last year, that the mixed payments with the match from the resident and a match from the program works. It continues the engagement because the individual's on a payment plan, and so they're constantly meeting with us and we're constantly engaging with them. And we're also going to tie in budgeting and financial literacy. There's a big issue back in the day, or maybe just 15 or 20 years ago, payday loans were the thing. Those are, well, they probably still are the thing, but the bigger thing now is the earn the day of the same day pay.
Payday loans.
They're not even payday loans. Well, I guess they are payday loans, but they're not really, because you're getting money for the money that you're going to get from your paycheck. And so by the time your paycheck hits, most of your paycheck is gone. And so we didn't know that this was such a big issue in the community until we started talking to the families and analyzing their actual statements. And it's like, when you see that, yes, they have their direct deposit hit and then they have a daily pay, take out almost all of the funds that they should have gotten that day because they've already spent it. And it's a budgeting, financial, and a resource issue. And so we are trying to tackle the resource issue with the Jobs Plus programs, looking at other workforce development opportunities. Section 3, CRHA has done a lot of hiring of residents. We can't hire every resident, I wish we could. But we are trying to do our part. And so it's going to be multiple different things, but we have to start with budgeting and financial literacy, because that's really the entry level and where we're seeing folks. We're getting folks who have never rented an apartment before, and we have a preference to get folks who have been homeless. And so we need to be able to provide more resources than we've provided. We are doing way more than what we've ever done as a housing authority. And I'm saying that, and I've only been here 5 years, but Kathleen, you've been here a while, a couple of stints. And so you know what was previously done, and we've done more than we've ever done before, and we still have so much more to do because we have taken on the challenge of saying, hey, we are going to serve everyone and make sure everyone is safe in housing and trying to protect everyone in their housing unit. And so it's a big task. All of us are up to it, but we do need some financial assistance. And so we're going to put in a request with the city, but in the future, this will look like nonprofit funding requests. The same thing that like PHA puts out, I think they do it once or twice a year, where they put out opportunities on like even their LinkedIn because we're connected. And so I see it. And so we will be essentially doing the same thing. But initially, we're going to come to the city for a funding request to meet this.
So this,
We want to put it in front of you guys so you guys see it and know what it is. And so maybe you all can also usher in championing this.
yep, great. And so does that, like, would it be helpful for us to, like, are you gonna have an individual meeting, or do you want us to show up to a, like, city council meeting, or what does that look like? What does support look like?
I think sending emails to city council,
Okay.
because we're gonna put this in. I think sending emails is really good when it does come up. I think coming to city council or sending in an email when it does come on the agenda and is published would also be good. Councilor Payne, what else would you recommend?
I think all those things make sense. I mean, I think emailing city council, our budget process is currently underway. I would guess this would be most likely come from last year's year-end budget surplus. But attending budget work sessions and, advocating for this to be a priority, emailing city council, speaking at city council meeting, public comment, just advocating it for it being a big priority is important. I think like all things with the city, just repetition is the most important thing for getting it on the radar of all of city council as a priority.
Great.
And we did recently approve somewhat similar scale of allocation for Piedmont Housing Alliance for work that's somewhat similar for on their end. So the issue has at least been on the radar of city council. So I don't know if that was answered the question.
That's good. That's a good answer. Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for this presentation and the thoroughness. And I know a lot of work went into this. A lot of work goes into doing the work, so you have the data.
Yeah.
So appreciate that.
Thank you, it's really helpful.
Okay, I will open it up for FAR or public comment.
Hello, my name is Sophia Marrero, and I'm a community organizer at FAR. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was we put out a campaign to collect supplies previous to the snowstorm that happened a couple weeks ago. Wendy Gow was the lead on that. She contacted every single resident that she knew, went to knock on doors and ask what they needed, how much of it, all that stuff, water, food, supplies, all that. And it was pretty successful. We also put out a campaign, our social media person put out a campaign on social media asking for donations. And that was also pretty successful. I personally went door knocking at Riverside and was able to contact some residents who honestly just needed anything of anything. They would just take whatever, because as we all know, and as we all saw, there was like nothing left in the grocery stores. So it was a rough time. But I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention and say that that was a big win. We hope to be able to mobilize when stuff like this happens, especially for public housing residents, and in order to make sure that they have the supplies that they need. And so I know that the week that the week right after when the snow was everywhere and like every car was like snowed in. I know that that was really difficult for residents as well. So I want to make sure that we're talking about, you know, snow clearing, we're talking about access to roads, we're talking about power, water, all that stuff, because that is important for residents. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about some upcoming events that we have. So interesting conversation today because we are having a financial literacy event on March 2nd at 5 p.m. at Crescent Halls. We've had one before at South First Street. And we didn't have like a huge number of people, but the people who did come did state that they found it very, very helpful, and they did connect. This is done in collaboration with the Piedmont Housing Alliance, and they did say that they found it particularly helpful. And one of them actually reached out to a financial coach afterwards, so I thought that was a win. Additionally, we'll be giving out some candy for Valentine's Day for kids tomorrow and Saturday. We also have bingo at West Haven on February 18th at 2 p.m. Additionally, we have the Community Power Lab led by Wendy, which is on February 19th at 6 p.m. And there will be food and drinks at all of these events. And I also wanted to talk through a little bit of the collaboration we're currently working on, doing Know Your Rights and working with the immigrant population in public housing communities, specifically reaching out to organizations like IRC, Sin Barreras, and trying to make collaborations, trying to get something in the books, trying to figure out what the best way is for people to know their rights, to know what they should do in these types of situations. Obviously, it's a very tense situation. It's a very stressful and anxiety-ridden situation for these people, and so sometimes it can be hard for people to actually come out because of fear that something might happen to them, fear of, you know, anything. And so we want to make sure we're doing whatever we can and thinking about the best ways to really think through how we can best help the community and give them the resources that they need. So we're also working on some youth events. I know Miss Asia is currently working on some youth events. She's also working on a resource fair that'll happen at South First Street with just a lot of different community organizations in the community. And I know they're also looking to do a youth bingo. Bingo is very popular among among FAR residents, so we love doing it. But yeah, that's just kind of an overview of what we have going on. We hope to continue working for public housing residents, by public housing residents, and do whatever we can to help us support and uplift the community.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Do we have any other, I don't know who else would comment actually based on what I see. Okay. Well, that concludes our agenda for this evening. Thank you so much. This is probably our longest meeting in a little while, so thank you everybody for hanging in there and staying engaged. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Yes?
Yes.
All opposed?
All right, thank you everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Oh my God. She's like, I don't know, but just some